Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our virtual program to honor the late, great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Thanks for your time today. I know we have a lot going, but I appreciate the fact that you're going to focus in on this program we put together that I think you'll get a lot out of. We're going to start off today with some messages from some of our ASB officers here at Riverside High School, and then we're going to transition into a message from James Lehman with the Association of Washington School Leaders. So many of you recognize him from helping out at a RAM camp and some other events over the past few years. Before we get started, just real quick from my end, my biggest takeaway, MLK has some great stuff that we can all hang on to and impact our lives. But the one thing that stands out to me right now is his ability to promote civil discourse, right? Whenever there's disagreements out there, or there's tension, or there's varying viewpoints on a particular topic, of which we have many right now, whether it's our school or in our community or in the world. We can't always agree on everything, right? But we can look and reach for and try to find understanding with varying viewpoints. So again, civil discourse means we don't always agree. We're not working for agreement. We're working for understanding on each other. And I think if we can all take a step toward understanding each other here in our building, in our community, and everywhere, it'll go a long ways to repairing some fractures and some things that exist right now. All right. Hey, after you hear from our officers with ASB, and then you hear from James Lehman with his message, that will be the end of our program. Thank you guys for paying attention. Appreciate you guys. See you soon.
Hey everybody, I'm Liberty Ross, your ASB treasurer, and I'm here to share with you guys one of my favorite Martin Luther King Jr. quotes. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter." This relates to me because it helps me remember that we don't have to be scared to share our opinions because we don't know how others will react. In school, we are not all going to agree on everything, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be able to share our opinions. We need to come to a place where we are comfortable to tell others how we feel, knowing they should be understanding of our opinion. When we do this, there doesn't have to be division between things that we feel matter to us.
Hi, my name is Anthony Todd. I'm the senior class president, and I would like to share with you my favorite MLK quote. My favorite quote is, "The time is always right to do the right thing." This applies to everything in life. In football, we were always talking about integrity. Do the right thing when no one's watching, upholding your standards even when those around you are lowering them. MLK Day is a reminder to do the right thing, and each individual in the community can make a positive impact. And that's just what MLK would want.
Hello everyone, I'm Jamar Distel. I'm the ASB Executive President, and I'm going to share with you my favorite MLK quote. So months before MLK was assassinated, in one of his final speeches, he reflected on his experiences in the Civil Rights Movement. He said that in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. This quote really signifies that it's not just about what people with bad intentions do, but what people with good intentions fail to do. This is a lot like the adage that actions speak louder than words. I think we've failed to follow through with something good we intended to do at some point, and MLK Day is a reminder that speaking up in times where friends, family, or classmates need you is always the right answer.
Hello, my name is Haley McDonald, and I'm the Executive Secretary on ASB. And so now I'm going to share my favorite MLK quote. So the quote is, "We must develop and maintain the capacity to forgive. He who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love. There is some good in the worst of us, some evil in the best of us, and when we discover this, we are less prone to hate our enemies." And so to me, this really emphasizes that we are all on different paths in life. We all have different dreams and different aspirations, but along with that, we all go through different struggles, different challenges, and different failures. So you can never really understand everything that your peers or even enemies go through. So why would you keep in anger or negative feelings and not forgive someone when you're truly only holding back yourself? None of us are perfect, so choose love like MLK would have wanted.
Light. Now, light can be defined as the natural agent that stimulates sight and makes things visible. Now, we're going to get back to that in just a few moments, so hang tight. Hello, my name is James Lehman, and what an honor it is to be here with you today. Now, I always like to preface these opportunities with this disclaimer that I'm not here to give you a speech. Instead, we're just here to engage in conversation and hopefully connect during our short time together. So, let me tell you a story about myself. I am a Black man who was adopted at birth into a single-parent white family. My mother, now she was incredible. So as you can imagine, growing up in a white family with a white mother, I have lived through some unique experiences throughout my life. Now let me ask all of you a question. Have you ever felt like you didn't belong? Have you ever felt out of place? I know that I have. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I did not belong in my adopted family, but I will say that being Black in a white family did come with moments where my sense of belonging was challenged. For example, moments where my family were standing right next to me and people didn't realize that I was part of that family. Or moments where I had to overly and outwardly explain that yes, I was a part of the family. Or moments where people said that I wasn't Black enough because my family was white. Moments where my enoughness was questioned. Those moments can rattle a person's sense of belonging. They did mine. Now, I'm going to guess that all of you watching this at some point have questioned or felt like your belonging was conditional rather than unconditional. That you were a human personification of a square peg in a round hole. This phenomenon and unfortunate experience surrounding belonging is one that every single one of us has felt. The good news is that none of us are immune from this. The bad news is that none of us are immune from this. So I'm sure by now you're saying to yourself, when are we going to hear about Martin Luther King? Well, we're going to dive into that right now. You see, honoring Martin Luther King, his legacy, vision, and achievements should not just be a one-day acknowledgement to this great man. Many of you have probably heard the phrase, a day on opposed to a day off in relation to Martin Luther King Day. Now, I love that, but I do want to challenge that idea a little bit because I believe the wisdom, teaching, and lessons from Dr. King that he brought forth can be woven into the fabric of how we live our lives each and every day. So one could say that this is more about a way of being instead of just a one-day acknowledgement. You see, Martin Luther King was all about belonging. He saw, spoke, and committed his short life to belonging. He recognized that individuals in our country deserved one thing that they were greatly deprived of: belonging. See, belonging is all about practicing the art of humanship. Now, what is humanship, you are probably asking? Well, I believe that humanship is the act of realizing that all anybody wants is to be seen, heard, valued, loved, and know that they are worthy of love. That's it. Creating a sense of belonging in our world is about intentionally creating conditions where everybody can show up as their authentic selves in the world and be seen, heard, valued, loved, and know they are worthy of love, no strings attached. You see, Dr. King told us how to do this. He laid it out perfectly. He created a blueprint that is still as poignant and powerful now as it was then. Let me give you some examples. First, let me share some of his words with you, and then I'll give you my interpretation of what his words mean. Dr. King said, we must rapidly begin the shift from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society. That shift from thing-oriented to person-oriented is a choice point presented to us thousands of times each day. The question is, what choices are we going to make to create spaces and places for others to belong? Now, my mother was famous for saying, James, we all make choices. The choices to treat others with love, acceptance, encouragement, and appreciation is one that you will not regret. Think about all the opportunities you have on a given day to make choices that can make another person's life better. These do not have to be ginormous acts, but instead can be small intentional, meaningful acts that let others know that you care for and about them. Let's get back to Dr. King. Dr. King also said, this call for a worldwide fellowship that lifts neighborly concern beyond one's tribe, race, class, and nation, in reality is a call for all-embracing and unconditional love for all. That quote was further evidence that Dr. King was all about belonging. He told us to look beyond our comfort zones and find, recognize, and celebrate the humanity in and of others. He told us loudly and proudly that encouraging someone to be entirely themselves is the loudest way to love them. Furthermore, he spoke about unconditional love for all. What does that mean? It means that all the things that make us us are not things that should be used to divide us. Instead, it's about embracing the fact that each of us is a kaleidoscope. We are all multifaceted people with different cultures, history, stories, perspectives, lived experiences, hopes, and dreams. That's right, we are all kaleidoscopes of awesome. And the moment we recognize and celebrate that, the better the world will be. Now, finally, Dr. King said, in a real sense, all life is interrelated. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be, and you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. Wow. This is the interrelated structure of reality. Y'all, we are all interconnected. Each and every one of us is connected through our shared humanity. So if I am allowed to be my authentic self, and that is celebrated, and you can be your authentic self, and that is celebrated, then we have created conditions where we all can thrive. It is said that each of us will meet upwards of 10,000 people in our lifetime. How incredible to think that all those people you meet, the people sitting next to you right now, you are forever connected with. When we begin to understand that we are all connected, we can at that moment open doors to belonging in ways we just have not before. So now let's go back a little bit. Do you remember when we discussed light? If you remember, light was defined as the natural agent that stimulates sight and makes things visible. Okay, cool. Now, let's explore this concept of light. A number of years ago at one of our summer camps, a friend of mine stood on stage and said, I stopped searching for the light and decided to become it. Pretty awesome, right? So let me ask you, how are you creating light for others? How are you casting light in all the dark places in the world? How are you using your light to create hope and healing for others? How are you creating light so that others can find their way? This light that I am talking about is powerful. It is so powerful it can illuminate the entire world, and it is the secret sauce to belonging. It is the key to unlock our hearts and open them up to others. It allows us to see each other completely and not just what is on the surface. This light that we are talking about is the exact light Dr. King was speaking of when he said, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. When I think about light and the light needed to change the entire world, the light needed to bring about belonging, my heart and mind go to one place: kids these days. You see, with all the darkness that can take over the world, kids these days understand and believe in a world so transformative and so alive that it often leaves me speechless. Kids these days know that the path towards creating a world where everybody can belong, while not easy, is possible. Kids these days teach me every single day that there is so much good in the world and we don't have to look far to witness it. Poet Amanda Gorman wrote, "There is always light if we're brave enough to see it. There is always light if we're brave enough to be it." That is our task in a world that can be so dark, to bring forward the light. Now, I'm not trying to make all of this sound easy. I recognize that being intentional about belonging and treating others the way that they want to be treated can seem overwhelming and maybe even daunting. How do we start? Where do we start? What does starting even look like? Well, I got you covered. I have created a list of ways that we can be the light for others and for ourselves. There are things that each of us can start doing each and every day. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Number one, Listen, listen more, and listen stronger. Y'all, most of us are actually terrible listeners. How many of you have tried to put a song on blast with the intent to listen, and when the song is over, you never even realize that you were paying attention to the song and it just went past you? It happens to all of us. Sadly, we do this to people far more than we care to admit. If we shift our thinking and treat listening as a privilege and a gift, we let others know that what they have to say is important. Secondly, tell me more. Those three words are game changers. When people share and we say, tell me more, we let them know that what they have to say is important and we are invested in what they are communicating. It also allows you to be curious. Curiosity with pure intentions is a beautiful way to let others know that you care about what they have to say. So the next time someone shares with you, try it. Say it with me right now. Tell me more. It will change the dynamics of so many of your conversations. Still with me? Okay, here we go. Number 3, you are brilliant. Each of us is already brilliant. We need to stop thinking that achieving brilliance is something that we need to aspire to. Every single one of us is already brilliant. We came into the world that way. Each of us gets to use our brilliance in our own unique way to make the world a better place. So you heard it here, you are already brilliant. Next, you, along with every person you meet, are a gift and have gifts. What would happen if the way that we thought about each other shifted? What if we thought of each and every person as a gift and treated everybody as if they had gifts to share with the world? What if you thought about yourself in that equation as well? Often, we are the hardest on ourselves and fall into the trap of believing that we have nothing to offer the greater world. Let me tell you this right here and right now. That is just not true. I know for a fact that you have gifts. You have strengths. You have things that make you the most extraordinary and exceptional person in the world. As we've discussed a lot today, never let anyone dim your light, especially yourself. Next, take out the toxic. The toxic thoughts, feelings, and words we think and say about ourselves, and especially our others, we need to take out. Nobody can belong, and we cannot belong to ourselves if we are bathed in toxicity. Love, acceptance, and empathy towards ourselves and others begin the moment we take out the toxic. If the soundtrack of your life is riddled with toxicity, it's time to build a new playlist. Next, you are not a transformer. Often we think in order to transform the world, we need to be something bigger and better than we currently are in our natural state. You do not need to be anything other than the incredible person you already are to make a difference in the world. You have everything you need, everything as you are to be the light in the world. Next, we're going to honor the I am in you and honor the I am in others. Each of us is complex and multifaceted. None of us is just one thing. When we honor the many aspects that make each of us, we contribute to creating a sense of belonging for the world. Think about all the things that you are and celebrate them. Then make room for others to share all that they are as well. Next, the medicine is in the stories. We all have stories, lived experiences, perspectives, moments of greatness, moments of sadness, moments when we have been hurt, and moments where we have hurt others. There is so much magic within the pages of all of our stories. The secret to learning from our stories and learning from the stories of others is crucial to bringing the light forward. Next, you are enough. I don't think people hear this enough. I want to take this moment and remind you that you are enough. I want to let you know that I see you and that some days I know it's just hard. It is so hard. I know that the world can feel like a bit much some days, specifically now, and that you may even feel lost in the shuffle. Let me remind you that right here and right now, that even in those moments, you are enough. You have nothing to prove, nothing you need to accomplish to be enough. You, in all your brilliance, right here and right now, are enough. In the moments you may forget that, you let me know, and I'll remind you. Finally, everything we need to make positive change is already here. That's right. To create the change we want to see in the world, in our schools, and in our communities, you have everything you need with everything you have right here and right now. You are perfectly equipped to go out into the world and make it a place where others belong. Now, as we begin to bring our time together to an end, let us remember that this is not just about one day or even one man. Even though Dr. King's vision and message brought us together today, it's about a way of being. A way of being compassionate, a way of being inclusive, a way of being empathetic, a way of being intentional about creating conditions, spaces, and places where belonging is vivid and vibrant. Remember, it's not about searching for the light, it's about being the light. In the face of darkness, we need to bring each other into the light. So to the kids these days out there, keep shining. Thank you all so much for giving me your time. I appreciate it, and I will see you soon.